Hey, you're back. Thanks for stopping by. This is Dina Court. I am the host of this podcast, Life Changes Channel, and I have another guest for you that is going to offer some insights around finances. Now, full disclosure, she is based in the US, and I do have listeners in the US, but it is still specific information that is helpful no matter where you live. Now, she has just started a business around finance and offers workshops for women to help encourage you, give you information around how to navigate, after divorce and, through other life changes, because it can really be the big upheaval in your life, right? And it's sometimes really scary, oftentimes scary, especially when it's your finances. If you have children and you don't know what to expect now, your future isn't what you thought your life was going to be, and you need to pivot fast and educate yourself and just kind of, understand what your options are. So, Nanette is the sweetest. This is the sweetest thing. I just like, if you can watch the video. And by the way, all of these podcast episodes are available on our YouTube channel, as well as our brand new Life Changes channel on Public Place Network. Don't worry, all the links are in the show notes. You can easily just click on them and go check it out. Now, I just wanted to squeeze her. She's like the sweetest thing. And if you watch the videos, that's where I'm going with this, you're going to want to do the same, because she's just got the heart of gold of caring and wanting to help others. And she has experienced divorce as well. So she comes from a place of personal experience as well as her educated expertise that she is offering. Now, I have other people on my team that can address all kinds of areas that you might need answers as you navigate these major life changes in your life, including divorce. You can find them on the website. You can find them in the brand new spring issues of the digital magazines, Divorce Magazine Canada and Life Changes Magazine. Don't worry, all the links are in the show notes. And we also have every 2 weeks support groups online that you can access from anywhere, and they're free. So sometimes I have a keynote speaker there. I have an expert talking to some certain issue or piece of information. And if that is something that you want to ask a question about, you can meet them. These are 1 hour max. They're free. And I think I mentioned that. Just want to emphasize that. you can meet these people. Now, many of them offer free consults. Their links are on the website, in the podcast notes, in the magazine. Some of them also have videos that we've embedded in the magazine that you can meet them and hear more information. Check out the YouTube channel. Like I mentioned before, you're going to be able to see and meet them. Some of them have slideshows that they've shared. Some are authors. There's just tons of information. So don't give up. Don't feel stuck. Don't be embarrassed to ask or look for help. Contact us if you're looking for something and you think, I don't want to dig through the website. Where is it? Send me a message and we can get you connected with the resources to help you. So don't feel embarrassed about that. You are not alone. And if nothing else, I want you to at least get that message that you are not alone. We're here to help. Okay, I want you to meet Nanette. So let's get into our conversation with her now. Welcome to the show, Nanette. You're coming to us all the way from Utah.
Yes.
I really am excited to have you here because a mutual friend introduced us. She knew that the work you were doing was a really good fit for my audience. And after talking to you, I totally had to agree. So I'm really interested to learn more about what you've done since we first spoke, because you were developing something special. And
Mhm.
yeah, please tell us about yourself. What has brought you to where where you've chosen to work, and then let us know what you're creating.
Yes, and thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. So my name is Nanette. I've been a financial planner for about 8 years now, certified financial planner. And about a year ago, decided I wanted to specialize in divorce cases and helping people figuring out how to split their assets in divorce, but also what that means in the long term for their planning. So shortly out of college for my bachelor degree, I was married pretty quickly and then went through a divorce myself. And got stuck with a lot of credit card debt that was in my name. And it just didn't feel like there was a lot of support, or I also felt very alone in the process. I felt ashamed. I felt embarrassed, but also watching my older sisters, and they all went through divorces and have children, raising them as single moms now, and they continue to have issues with their ex-partners, with the divorce proceedings, and continuing to go to court to try to get issues resolved. So it's very near and dear to my heart that I want to be a support system for people who are going through such a difficult time. And because finance is my expertise, I love math, I love numbers, that's where I'm going to be helping people. So it's definitely been a passion project journey, combining my talents and my skills with something that I'm very passionate about. And, I want people to have a better outcome on the other side. And finances is a huge part of that.
Wow. So nobody can argue with the fact that you not only have personal experience, you have a passion towards this,
Hmm.
and it just is like the perfect combination of,
Yeah.
a mission and a passion with how you've seen a gap. And you described it beautifully as well, Nanette, because so many people feel embarrassed, ashamed, alone. They feel guilty for
Yes.
where they are found themselves, not only
Yeah.
because they feel they were a failure, the marriage failed, and often it's
Yep.
even called, that's kind of the terminology. Oh, their marriage failed. Well, yeah, that
Yes.
really adds to that feeling of total failure. But that aloneness and frustration and
Hmm.
finances are so scary. They're
Yeah.
scary at the best of times. But now, if you're looking at being alone and trying to manage, and you have debt, very likely,
Yeah.
most people
Very
do.
likely.
And yet we feel alone, or we feel ashamed
Yeah.
and guilty. And yet so many other people are in the same spot and can relate, and
Yes.
we're stuck. I can't relate to loving numbers in math, but it's just like first responders. I mean, I
Hmm.
come from a nursing background, so I've worked with first responders, but I totally admired anybody who could do those two things, math
Yeah.
and first responder. To me, there's similarities, because sometimes your finances need first aid. Sometimes things
Yes.
are very critical and we stall. We just get
Yep.
frozen, stuck. I don't know what to do. So maybe if I just don't move, don't breathe, don't say
Yeah.
anything, it won't get worse, and it'll maybe just go away. Maybe nobody will notice or
It's
ask,
avoidance.
it's
Avoidance
avoid.
behavior is so common, and it leads to real issues.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, they just are not fully aware of their financial situation, and going through the settlement process already has so much emotional need. It's sucking so much out of you that your brain is not working at full capacity. How are you going to learn everything about your financial situation and your options if you're already drained? You're going through a difficult time. And so having someone who can just lay it all out and point out all the numbers, and if you guys choose to do this, this is what this means in 30 years, this is how it will affect both of you, can not only reduce the conflict between you and your soon to be ex spouse, but it resolves issues in the future, because I see so many divorce cases where they come to me after the divorce is final. They have a divorce decree, but it is so vague. They didn't include a proper settlement on much of the assets. It's like, hey, we're just splitting it 50-50. Well, what exactly does that mean? As of what date? Um, and is that really fair in the long term? So having really detailed information while you're going through the process saves you so much money and heartache in the long term, when you realize that maybe it wasn't the best, you didn't make the best choices because you didn't know any better. So I think just having an advocate or an expert on your team can save so much problems in the long term. And it's a hard time. It's hard going through the divorce process. So even someone just saying, persevere just a little bit longer. You don't need to give in to any manipulative tactics. You don't need to give in to your own self-doubt saying, well, maybe I just want to be done with this as fast as possible. So we're just gonna make it an easy settlement. That's not always in either of your best interests. So just having someone that can hold your hand and say, you can do this, stick it out just a little bit longer. We're going to find a good option for both of you. It just saves so much in the long term. That's the ultimate goal, is to save your long-term happiness so you can move forward.
Ooh, we got to unpack this just a little
Yeah,
because
that's a lot.
oh, it was so good, so good. And it all started where you said we don't always know our financial picture or our,
Yep.
what our finances look like. And that can go either way. Some people are
Yeah.
terrified to look because they think it's far worse than it actually is. And by
Yes.
ignoring it or avoiding it, like you said, we we won't know. So it's
Yeah.
very important to look into this as detailed as possible with the help of a professional so they can help you
Yeah.
sort out, well, is this relevant? Is this not? Is this something that needs to be included in the divorce? Or is this exempt, for example?
Yeah.
Or is there other options to how we could deal with the debt that we've incurred in
Yes.
this relationship, say?
Yeah.
Um, who is responsible for some of this? Who
Yes.
isn't? And just get a really good picture and have somebody help
Yeah.
you understand that. Now, I think over the generations, more recently, the women are more involved with finance, have their own
Yeah.
independent uh, income, say, but we still maybe aren't as educated, men or women, in
Yeah.
what our finances mean when we're going to go through a divorce and a
Yes.
separation. How are those affected? And we can't just, like you say, make it really vague. Well, we'll just split 50-50. Well,
Yeah.
what actually are the assets? What are their values? What is exempt? What isn't?
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, oh, and what about this debt sitting over here?
Yes. Well, and the thing with debts is even if you do have the financial knowledge and capacity, we're people in the school system and financial education courses, you're not taught about the finances in divorce. So, one very common mistake that happens is the divorce decree will say, well, here is a joint debt. You have a credit card, about $10,000 in both of your names. Let's say John is going to be responsible for paying off that debt. That's going to be his responsibility. Well, guess what? Your divorce decree um, does not make the final decision on who's liable for debt. The credit card company is saying, both of your names are on there. We don't care what your divorce decree says. If he's not making payments, it's going to affect both of your credit scores. And she probably won't know. And the gender roles could be reversed, of course. She probably won't know because she's not getting statements anymore and not making the payments. So you have to know, how do you need to protect yourself, not just in the divorce decree, but in the logistics. You want to have debt that is no longer in both of your names because that's a liability in the future if one person doesn't pay. So there's legal issues, and I'm not an attorney by any means, but understanding the financial side of it, there's being really specific in the divorce decree, because there's also items where you say, well, you're going to keep the brokerage account and it's invested this way. I'm going to keep this retirement account and it's invested differently. Or let's split both of them half and half. But who is going through the numbers and looking at the capital gains and losses? Are the gains and losses going to be split as well? Because your divorce does not happen in one day. It could take a year. So what about all those gains and losses during the year? Are those included as well? So there's so many minuscule details that make a huge difference. And even if you are financially savvy, you're not going to know them because there's not divorce financial education just going around for everyone.
Well, and that's why really, really passionate about bringing all of these resources to people, the experts,
Yeah.
professionals, the information, so that people can make an informed decision and know that there's people out here with
Yeah.
the answers. So I'm trying to introduce and connect people with those experts, and then they
Yeah.
can get the answers they need, or realize that there's something very important they need to consider
Yeah.
that maybe hadn't crossed their mind. Like, even
And
as
it's
far
nothing
as,
to be embarrassed about either.
no,
No.
no, don't be afraid to ask. And,
Yeah.
I talked about this recently with another lady that presented in one of our online divorce resource groups about our age, and how sometimes we'll think, oh, I'm a certain age, so I should know this.
Yeah.
I should already understand this. It's embarrassing because people are going to think, well, wouldn't you have known that? Or business people are
Yeah.
educated, and it doesn't mean you know how it applies to your situation specifically.
Right.
So it's really important to ask. And
Yeah.
another thing, and I'm assuming this is similar on either side of the border, is the date, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
When is this taking in effect? What's the
Yeah.
separation date, or what date are we working from? Because
Yeah.
sometimes people want out so fast, they'll just say, okay, as of this date, I was done. Whether they moved out, they can be living in the same house, and still it's considered this is your separation date.
Yeah.
And they pick a date, and maybe they haven't considered, like, they just want, like you say, they want out. um what has happened with their finances
Yeah.
in that time? Are they giving up rights, or are there going to be significant changes that have happened, and now they've backdated it
Mm-hmm.
just in order to speed up the process?
Yeah.
What are some examples that you've seen that you could share with us, where some cases where they've done due diligence, where this was
Mm-hmm.
very, it's an example of how to do it, and somewhere, whoops. Nanette has some great examples that she's going to share with us, and some more information and some tips. But I wanted to share with you something that you can access for about $1 a day. This is something that you definitely want to check out. Now, I'm excited to share with you about a company that is offering very affordable, very relevant, and accessible, legit legal services and identity protection and recovery. Legal Shield and ID Shield. Now, they've been around for over 50 years. They're helping over 4 million people already with legal access. And what this is, now it's even easier with an app. As a member, if you have a question about any type of legal, from your will, creating your will, if you've got documents you want reviewed, something to do with real estate, with family law, with vehicles, with insurance, with whatever it might be, even as a customer, if you've got questions about something and you need some help from a lawyer, you will be connected with a vetted lawyer who knows the laws in your area and can help you, even as far as making a phone call or writing a letter on your behalf. All of that's included in this subscription, and it's month by month, and you will have, just by tapping the button, you can send a request to be connected, and you go through the process very easily, very quickly. And you can also sign up for their ID Shield. So what that is identity protection and restoration. You let them know what you would like monitored. You will be notified if there's anything that is suspicious, and then they will, if there has been a breach in your identity, as far as your identity theft, even your reputation on social media, they will then assign your own licensed private investigator to resolve your issue. It takes for as long as it takes to make sure to restore that and your identity to pre-theft status, and even cover up to $3 million of identity theft related losses. Now, why wouldn't you want to have that coverage? This is phenomenal. If you are interested to learn more about the details of this, please click on the link in the show notes and you will find out more about Legal Shield and ID Shield. Now let's get back to hear what examples Nanette has to share with us.
Yes. I think particularly with the dates that are used is first you want to make sure it is congruent with the case law in your area. So what are attorneys typically using for the valuation date of your assets, your liabilities, but also making sure that all of your assets and liabilities are using that same date. If you're looking at statements from a year ago for this one and from a couple months ago for this account, well, you're really not getting an accurate picture because so much can happen. And I would say particularly this is of concern when one party is starting to hide assets, which makes it more difficult. You definitely need a financial expert on your team because if you have an ex-spouse who maybe owns their own business, is an entrepreneur, is self-employed, it becomes very easy to start withdrawing funds and having them go to different business accounts. It's very easy to start hiding assets. So having a financial expert who can look at all the tax documents and do some forensic accounting, it's really important. And the dates that are used can help them to find, well, when did money start disappearing? When did it start moving? Is this incongruent with the tax return from last year? So I think that's probably the biggest issue I've seen. But I want to emphasize that having a financial expert on your team is not just for high conflict divorces. It's even for people who are going through mediation and are totally amicable. Um, I had a client come to me just a few weeks ago. You know, he came to me, they had already gone through all of mediation, had already drafted a settlement agreement, and he just wanted a second opinion. So it really didn't take much time. It took maybe an hour or two to look through over all his documents and look at some projections. But then at least you're getting a second opinion saying, this looks great. You did a great job including this. I would advise looking into these few things and adding those to your decree. Or um, he also asked, he wanted to make sure that his ex-spouse was getting a fair settlement. And I told him honestly, you know, you're getting a quite better deal than she is simply because of the assets you guys are choosing to keep. Where if you just transferred maybe 40,000 from your retirement account into her name, it would be a much more equitable solution. And he was totally happy with that. He's like, great, I'm going to tell her. I was like, oh, that's so amazing. Like, you guys just want to have something that's fair to both of you and you want to move on with good terms individually. That is amazing. But just having someone looking over the numbers, whether it's just to get a second opinion or to really do a deep dive in forensic analysis, it can make a tremendous difference in the long term in 30 years.
What a beautiful example of how things don't have to be ugly and dirty and mean.
Yeah.
Just and you have to live with yourself after that as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that long term, like you said, 30 years down the road, how is
Yeah.
everyone going to fare? And it just it's integrity. It does speak to
Yes, it
people's integrity
is.
as well. Now you're
Yeah.
developing some special services and offerings
Yes.
for people. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, the business is growing and I have so many projects in the works. But so I've started a monthly workshop for women so they can learn more about financial planning, whether they're going through a divorce, have been through a divorce, or remarried, doesn't matter. I, of course, would love to have both genders at the workshop, but I don't want anyone to come in and feel worried that they're going to see an ex that they maybe would be uncomfortable with, or maybe there's a restraining order. So that's more of a safety issue. So I'm gearing it towards women because I feel women have been underserved in the financial community. And we had our first one just a week ago, and it went so well. It was great to develop a community of women who are just there to support each other, wanting to learn more about handling their own financial situations. Um, it's been so wonderful. If there's any events in your area where you can get together with other women going through the same thing, or if you're a man, get together with other men going through the same thing. Just having a community is amazing. It feels so good.
Now, Nanette, are these workshops specific to American type of accounts and investment accounts and that type of thing? So the advice would
No.
be very useful for anybody in my audience, because I'm
Yes.
24 countries I think this is listened to.
Yes.
It might not be applicable to all of them, but and it's online, I assume.
Yes, so I will be recording it and putting it online.
Amazing.
And it's very general advice. Um, like last time we did healing your relationship and your thoughts with money. Felt that was a good starting point. Then we'll be going over things like uh, budget management. What are some financial planning things to be aware of after a divorce? Investment basics and how our behaviors can help us get towards retirement. And I think that would be fine for anyone because we all have access to the same investments. You can invest in anything you want to. It doesn't
Yep.
have to be just the US. So yeah, it's exciting to see things come to fruition.
Well, I'm going to get those links and all that information. We will put it in the show
Yeah,
notes, and the audience can reach out and see what this community is about and how it can support them. If nothing else, not feeling alone, not
yes,
feeling embarrassed and ashamed to have conversations about their money and their concerns, or
yeah.
ask questions, and no judgment.
No judgment, or even a support group, or it's always good to surround yourself with people so you can remind yourself you are not alone. None of us are alone in this journey, as much as you might feel like it when you're going through it. You really are not. There's nothing to be ashamed about. Life can maybe you planned one thing and it's frustrating that it didn't go that way, but maybe you just needed a change of direction. And even if it didn't go how you planned, there still could be so many possibilities open for you. And you just be open to receive them, be open to a new life that you're creating however you want it to be. I think it can be a really beautiful transition when you have the support system that you need.
Mhm. Well, thank you for creating that, Nanette. It's
Yeah,
exciting to hear that you've already launched this. You've
yeah,
seen women come and already find support and encouragement and
yeah,
information. And I think that's important, that we ask those questions,
yeah,
find out what the actual real picture is, and some tangible steps forward that we can
yes,
really feel confident doing because
yeah.
we've received guidance from an expert like yourself.
Yeah.
So thank you very
And
much. Yes, go ahead.
yeah, and so common with women particularly is that avoidance behavior because it's scary, but avoiding taking those steps towards your financial future is just going to make things worse. I mean, honestly, take that scary step and reach out to someone, maybe a friend who's been doing it, or just taking that first step to create your support system is going to make a huge difference. No more avoiding what needs to be done. Put yourself first. You are a priority, so take care of yourself. Like you are the most important person in the world because you are the most important person in your world, and it needs to be that way.
That's powerful. And I think it's so empowering when we face our fears, we step
Yeah,
in and we ask. It is empowering because
it
now
is.
knowledge is power. Understanding what our options are, that's power, because you can't make a
Yes.
decision if you've avoided looking at the situation. It's not even necessarily a problem, it's just the situation.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not as bad as you think.
Yeah. It's usually not.
Okay, you guys
It's
heard it
usually
right here.
not.
You heard it from Nanette, and she's a certified financial analyst, and she's saying it's usually not as bad as you think. I love that. Thank you for
Yeah.
being here, Nanette. And I look forward to
Yeah.
having you back again. And we're going to have you back for, some of these little bite-sized episodes that we're going to put out with one little tip or one little
Yeah.
suggestion, word of encouragement, some consideration that maybe you weren't aware of. So I think it's gold.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, Dina. It's a pleasure.
I hope you found that conversation insightful, encouraging, and also a reminder to all of us that what we see isn't always as it appears. People are going through a lot of things in their lives, and we would want that compassion shared to us, and that is something that we can offer to others without judgment. Instead, be curious and reach out, reach in, figure out a way that you can make someone's day a little better, and it might just start with a smile. I thank you very much for spending your time with me here today, and encourage you to please subscribe to the podcast, follow us on social media, check out our events. We have lots of ways that we can help you or someone that you love. Share this with a friend if there's someone that you know could benefit from this. And hey, keep smiling that beautiful smile, because the world really does need your sunshine. It means a lot that you spend this time with us and meet our experts and professionals who can help you through whatever life changes you're facing. Please refer to our terms of service available on our website, lifechangesmag.com. The link is in the show notes. Our disclaimer: Divorce Magazine Canada, Life Changes Magazine and channel, and divorce resource groups are intended to educate and provide quality, credible resource information. The contents should not be used as factual until consultation with the appropriate professionals for any guidance. Divorce Magazine Canada, Life Changes Magazine, and Life Changes Channel, as well as the divorce resource groups, do not constitute endorsements for, nor liability for any claims made in the presenting of this information.